Do you feel overwhelmed in your business? Do you feel like there are millions of things that you need to do to grow your business and sales, and the mere thought of them paralyzes you from taking action? Do you find that you create a list and you intend for it to be maybe 3 to 5 items, but when you're finished writing your to-do list, it is 10 pages long and it stops you in your tracks? What if I told you that your feelings of overwhelm are a good thing? What if I told you that you should feel overwhelmed as you grow your business and your sales, and that your feelings of overwhelm is a sign that you're growing? Well, I came to this revelation just yesterday when I was in my coaching session with Myron Golden. Myron Golden's my coach. And a backstory: I have been in business and self-employed for 19 years. And I can tell you that for the past 19 years, I have felt overwhelmed more than not. And I remember talking to a doctor about 9 years ago and expressing that I was feeling overwhelmed. And they said to me, feeling overwhelmed is not normal. And and it was a little bit of a shock to me, like, oh, this is not a normal state of feeling. And so since then, I have been desiring not to feel overwhelmed, but feeling quite overwhelmed with growing my business, overwhelmed with another business that I run. And that was my normal state. Until yesterday, I had a new perspective that is shifting everything for me. And I made a decision that I am going to embrace overwhelm. And I want to share what I learned yesterday. And then it actually took me back to what I learned in 2005 from the Training Coaches Institute, the school where I got trained and certified as a coach. So here's how it went down. Yesterday in the group coaching session with Myron Golden, one of my fellow Offer Mastery Boot Camp students asked Myron, I feel overwhelmed. I'm feeling paralyzed. I'm struggling with perfectionism. I think I'm not. Don't quote me correctly, but he was just saying that he felt overwhelmed. He was feeling paralyzed, and Myron basically told him that that is a part of growth. That you feeling overwhelmed makes sense because you're learning new information and you're taking in new information and you're stretching yourself. And it was like, wait, overwhelm is part of the process of growing, of transforming. What, like, this is normal? Mine went on to say a couple of other things that I'm still chewing on, but one of them made me think back at what my father would always tell me. He said, Althea, you got too many pots on the burner. And for those fellow Caribbeans, you know when we have that one burner, and my father would say, you got too many pots on the burner. Like, I had too many things going on. And my father has gone home to be with Jesus for the past 19 years, but that's something he said most of my life. He'd be like, I think you got too many pots in the burner. Well, what Myron was saying and why I am changing how I view overwhelm and actually embracing overwhelm and not trying to be what I feel is that when you have a lot of gaining a lot of information and a lot of insight, it's normal, like it's normal to feel overwhelmed. But what causes it can cause you to feel paralyzed is when you're trying to learn so many new things at once. So, for instance, maybe you're trying to learn how to grow your YouTube channel, while at the same time you're learning how to grow your podcast, while at the same time you're learning how to grow your TikTok platform, while at the same time you're learning how to grow your LinkedIn platform. All of those require different skills, complementary skills, but different skills, while at the same time you're learning how to grow your list. And so we can feel paralyzed when we're trying to learn too many new things at one time. And we can reduce our sense of overwhelm when, one, we embrace overwhelm as part of the process, not something that we want to avoid, something we want to get rid of, but we embrace it as a normal part of the process, and we focus on one thing at a time. Mind-blowing. Not only mind-blowing, but a sense of relief. And it made me think of how we can get information from well-meaning individuals. I mean, I told you back in 2016, I was speaking with a doctor and I was sharing how I was feeling overwhelmed, and they were saying, that's not normal. However, when I'm speaking now to Myron, who has $1 million days, $5 million days, and probably more, and helps his clients have $1 million days, $5 million days, and is someone who is growing exponentially, right? Year after year, month after month. It's a different perspective. This is why it's so important to be coached and mentored with the right people, with people who are where you want to go, because they can shed a new light on things, where people who are not where you want to go, again, well-meaning, loving people, can give you a different perspective. So embrace overwhelm. But then it made me think of, and I have my notes, we're all note takers. This is actually, again, the training notes that I received in 2005 from the Coaches Training Institute. And they shared the 4 stages of learning. And it corresponds with what I am doing, which I'm inviting you to do, is embrace overwhelm. In fact, if you want to embrace overwhelm, which is really embracing growth, learning, and transformation in a way that you're easy on yourself. Because I don't know about you, but when I am feeling overwhelmed and I don't want to be overwhelmed, there's a lot of shoulding that I'm doing on myself. Althea, you shouldn't be overwhelmed, or why are you overwhelmed, right? And the thoughts that I'm thinking and saying to myself are really not of love. And we know that learning and change and transformation is difficult, and so, or can be difficult, right? And us not being loving to ourselves in the process makes it more difficult. So if you want to join me on this journey of embracing overwhelm, let's put in the chat, embrace. And I want to break this down a little further of what it aligns with what I learned from the Coaches Training Institute. So there's 4 steps. I want you to think of literally walking steps, and I'm going to be looking down at the notes, and of learning, right? And we go from incompetence to competence. We actually go from unconscious incompetence. I'm going to read the 4 steps, and then we're going to walk up the steps together, right? Unconscious incompetence is the first step. I'm not aware of what I don't know, right? I'm not aware of what I don't know. I'm going to take YouTube. I remember in 2019 when I hired Pete Bennett to help me get serious on YouTube, and I really had no idea of what I didn't know. I didn't understand about the playlist. I didn't understand about thumbnails and titles. I didn't understand about the copy, the different copies. I didn't understand the importance of the analytics and how the algorithms. And I still, I didn't know about optimizing your YouTube channel. I didn't know what I didn't know. I just saw people with YouTube channels, and I've gotten feedback after feedback after feedback from different corporate clients that you're great on video and other coaches. And I thought, and God told me, so I thought, I'm just going to go live on video. I was ignorant. I was unconsciously incompetent. I didn't know what I didn't know. That's where we all start, right? You name what you're learning, we all start there. And then I hired Pete, and Pete optimized my YouTube channel, and he started asking me questions, and I became conscious, step number 2, of my incompetence. I began to realize, oh my gosh, there is so much that I don't know. You know that moment when you're like, I got this. It can't be that hard, right? You go from, I got this. It can't be that hard, in that unconscious incompetence. And then you hire a coach, you take a workshop, you attend a master class, you attend a challenge, and then you realize, oh my goodness, I am aware of what I don't know. Like, there is a big gap, right? And that's when the learning starts. Let me know, that's, if you can agree with me, that's when the overwhelm starts. All of a sudden, you're like overwhelmed because you're like, oh my gosh, there's things I didn't know. I didn't know there's things about a mic. I didn't know there's things about a lighting. I didn't know there's things about editing. I didn't know there's things about transition. Like, you are aware of your incompetence. And that is where the overwhelm sets in. Now, this is when we have to make a decision. Are we going to embrace the overwhelm? Which is really saying, are we going to embrace the learning? Are we going to embrace the growth? Are we going to embrace the transformation and move forward, knowing that nothing is too big for us, right? Or are we going to just give up? This is where most people give up, right? I just saw a statistic that said 85% of YouTube channels have less than 10 videos. So you, my friend, if you are a fellow small YouTuber like me and you have more than 10 videos, guess what? We're in the 15% because most people quit at 10 videos. I remember about a year or so ago, I interviewed a podcast a coach, someone who helps launch their podcast. And I remember telling me it's 7 podcasts. Most people quit after 7 podcasts. So when we get to that conscious incompetence, I'm now aware of what I don't know. We have to make a decision. Are we going to move forward or are we going to draw back? Well, I know if you're watching this channel, you are amongst those Lords, as the Lord said, we don't draw back. We're the Joshuas and the Calebs, right? And we're like, let's move forward. We are well able. And to move to the 3rd stage, which is conscious competence. Between conscious incompetence, I'm aware of what I don't know, to conscious competence, I'm aware of what I do know. That's where the learning goes. That's where the learning, the transformation, the trials, the errors, the overwhelm, right? We're working that muscle, right? We're working that muscle. That's when we begin to say, oh, wow, I didn't, we're going to use YouTube. Wow, I realized that I didn't have a good click-through rate. Or I realized that I didn't have a hook in the beginning, right? Like you begin to realize, oh my God, I'm getting better. I'm more confident. I'm hooking people. I'm not only catching people's attention, I'm capturing, I'm holding their attention. Oh wow, my titles are getting better. Oh wow, my thumbnails. You begin to be conscious of your competence. But you realize, right, you know this, from going to conscious incompetence to conscious competence, there's a lot of reps. Now, I don't know about you. That might be 100 videos. That might be 400 videos. We're talking about YouTube. It might be 500 videos. Listen, I'm near 500 videos, and I just feel like I've gotten to conscious competence. I mean, there's a lot of areas that I'm still conscious incompetent. That's why I'm going to hire a YouTube manager. But I feel like now, at around 500 videos, I'm beginning to get competent. I'm just aware of my competence. I'm just aware of things. You might be a faster learner than me, right? You might get this in 10 videos. You might get this in 20 videos. You might get this in 100 videos. Or you might get it in 1,000 videos. We're all different. We all start somewhere else. But again, from the conscious incompetence, I'm aware of what I don't know, to the conscious competence, that's where the overwhelm is. So we've got to embrace it. Now, the fourth step, this is learning. This happens whenever we're learning something new. Whenever we're learning something new, and I know you and I are the same, we are lifelong learners. So if we're lifelong learners, it's something we love about ourselves, that's something we know about ourselves, we need to embrace overwhelm. It's a part of the process. And let's get to the fourth step. The fourth stage is where we're all going to is unconscious competence. That's the flow state. That's the mastery state. That's when we don't even know what we know. We are operating from an unconscious level of competence, of mastery, right? And you are doing this right now in so many areas of your life. One area, if you drive, you've been driving since you're 16, you are driving at an unconscious competence. You don't even realize all the things that you do when you're driving, right? You just do it. You do begin to realize it when you're helping your 15-year-old, your 16-year-old, your 17-year-old drive. And you're like, oh my God, there's so many things, and they're getting overwhelmed. But one area, if you've been driving since you're 16, that's an area where you're operating in unconscious competence. And I know you, as a coach, consultant, and other seasoned female entrepreneur, when you're delivering your services, you are operating at an unconscious competence. In fact, when you have interns and other people working for you and they're asking you questions and you've got to pause because you're like, I got to think about how do I explain that? I just do it, right? You just do it. You are operating in unconscious competence. And so in our business, again, we're going back to the YouTube, I'm not yet at unconscious competence. I got to think about some things, right? I said to remember before, like, Althea, don't forget your mic. And, oh my, like, what's the title? And what's the hook? I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there, right? And there's other areas in my business that I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. And as we grow, as we learn, there's no avoiding this. I love how Myron says this. Myron says, every solution creates 10 new problems. Man, I don't know about you, but that helped me because I used to feel like, oh my God, is there something else? See, I used to be on this bandwagon of, I just want everything to be perfect. Like, I just want to get out of overwhelm. Like, why is there more problems? And God began to tap me and say, Althea, do you think life is supposed to be like, just like you're going to be calm all the time? And he's been working on this with me. Because just realize this, you know this, when you went from a solo entrepreneur and you hired your new employee, your new VA maybe, and you're like, yes, I'm going to have all this time freedom. And then you realize, oh my God, now I need SOPs. Now I need a way of communicating. Now I need to explain these things. Like, you hired this team member and it created more problems. You realize I need a project management system because I can't do in my texts and my emails. Oh my God, I need to write things down. Oh my God, now I need to be more organized and more on time because they're waiting for me. That solution of hiring your first employee created 10 new problems that you needed to show up differently. And so again, you're in a new learning. You're in a new learning stage. There's more overwhelm. So again, type in the chat if you are going to embrace overwhelm. Embrace overwhelm. I'm embracing it. I'm taking on a new, I haven't decided yet. We can decide together. What is the way that we're going to look at overwhelm? I mean, we should actually, if we want to hold each other accountable, right? Actually ask each other, hey, are you feeling overwhelmed? Because you do remember when you were in that corporate job, when you were bored out of your mind, when you were like dragging yourself to work. Oh, sorry. Let me talk about myself. I remember over 19 years ago, sometimes I have to remind myself, when I was in that corporate, that public accounting job that I hated, that I was so bored with, that I had to drag myself to work, drag myself to the train. I'd work a couple hours and reward myself with a Starbucks to make it through the day. And I just desired to do work that I was purpose for, because I believe we're born on purpose, with a purpose, for a purpose, right? And so God answered my prayer. I stepped out on faith, right? And now there's overwhelm. Hello, right? Once we conquer one thing, it's like there's overwhelm. And so we just have to embrace this, right? Because the other choice is to be bored. The other choice is to be bored. Listen, I have been having caregiving responsibilities for over 19 years. I know 70, 80, and 90-year-olds better than anyone else. And I will tell you, I have seen when the 80 and 90-year-olds stop working, right? You're trying to run away from work. When they stop working and they get bored, they decline, right? They decline. But the 80 and 90-year-olds I know who are still actively working, who are texting, who are emailing, who are on the phone call, they are sharper than you wouldn't believe. And the minute they stop experiencing growth and keeping up, there's a sharp decline. So let's embrace this overwhelm. Let's know that it's our way to getting to unconscious competence, where we're operating in mastery. Let's thank God that He's given us authority to have dominion in the marketplace, which requires us to stretch because we go from glory to glory. Listen, this is a new way for us, and this is the way that God wants us to go. Why? Because He wants us to become the business leader that He created us to be, so that we do what He called us to do, the hard stuff right now, so that we can have what He promised us. And we can't get there wanting everything to feel good, right? We can't get there hoping, wishing that we won't experience overwhelm. We got to reframe this. We got to embrace this. We got to be thankful and grateful for this. Grateful that we have a mind, right, that can take in new information, that can be stretched, that can learn new things, that was once difficult for us, and we were conscious of our incompetence. We will soon be unconscious of our competence. I don't know about you. That gets me excited. That gets me excited. And it gets me to embrace the here and now. I am one, historically, was always wanting to get ahead. Yeah, always wanted to get ahead and not embracing the now. And I have made the decision that I'm experiencing life and business differently. And I'm going to embrace where I am. And I'm going to look at things differently, and I'm going to enjoy the journey. So I hope that you are going to join me on this embracing overwhelm and looking at it differently. Listen, if you receive value from this video, I need you to do a few things. I need you to comment. I see a comment right now. Yes, Tina, 15%. 15%. We're in the 15%. If you have more than 10 videos, you are in 15% of YouTubers. I need you to give me a comment. I need you to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed to Althea TV, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And then I want to remind you or share with you, actually, did you know I have a free training on the 7 biggest sales mistakes that female entrepreneurs make that keep them from 7 figures? I do. These are sales mistakes that you're probably currently making that are costing you a fortune, and you're not even aware of it. So I want you to grab this free training. You can go to the description box and grab it. I'm going to share with you these 7 mistakes and how you can stop making them so that you stop keeping yourself from 7 figures. Because I know that God has called you and told you that you're not only going to make millions, you're going to impact millions. And now is your time. Okay, it's been so much fun. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video if you receive value. And I will see you soon. Have a fantastic weekend. Love you so much. Bye for now.